And this is where we take learning strategies, legitimate learning strategies, not too many, and you match them up with the learning target. And the last one is always create my own, right? Because maybe the child has their own learning strategy or they've got a way to do it. I never want to shut kids down on that, but I got to give them something. I got to model for them what an expert educator would use to learn it themselves. That is a learning strategy. That's something that they can do independently and practice it without me there. So I want to be super clear. These are not assignments. These are not assignments that they then have to turn into me to get graded. Otherwise, you just ruined like 14 weekends of your life you will never get back. Everyone with me on this? What this is, I am a card-holding member of the Practical Federation. Everyone with me on that? But what you're handing over are ways that the child could learn and practice whatever it is you're asking them to do independently. So if they wanted to improve their performance, they could go home, work on this, or in the classroom when I'm having all my groups working, right? I could have little groups working and they should be practicing it. And then while I maybe pull a small group, or maybe I would pull a group and I'd be reassessing or reteaching, right? It's a self-navigation day. I've created the atmosphere where they can learn it with a model and practice it to improve their performance. And all I want them to do is using their data from above where it said okay, so I wouldn't be working on the ones I'm already good at unless I'm having a really bad day and I need to build my sense of expertise, then I would, okay? But maybe I'm low energy today. I need to take one of the ones I need to practice and move it up. Maybe I'm really good today. I'm high energy. Look at this self-assessing, right? And self-regulating. I'm ready to learn one of these and move it up to I need to practice. And kids actually physically move the number up, right? They should see this learning plan changing as they put effort in. They should be able to prove to you, I've improved this one. I'm ready to move it up.
Excuse me, Marie, how much of that should be done in class with teacher, giving children time to do that? And I know initially that would be something that you would build into your class. But as time moves on, do you slowly go away from class time to home time, or is it important always to provide the time in class and hope that the children do some at home, are motivated to do some at home as well?
So if I have a sample like this, this is a bird's eye view of a unit. And what this has is all the days of the unit. You see this? So that was day 1, 2, 3. And it has the learning targets that I'm going to be teaching. And some of these would line up with that self-navigation tool, right? So I want to point out to kids when we're teaching some things. But if I were to have a context day, a day where I would actually write in where I'm going to have self-navigation days in here. And in general, can I say that? That's such a lie, right? Because there is nothing general. It's going to totally depend on age of the kids and how long they've been self-navigating. So I'm going to say this is the first 2 years you do it. Can I say it like that? The first 2 years a school is overtly teaching self-navigation. It's really in the class time. I don't care what grade level we are, because the high school, they have no idea how to self-navigate, right? They just go for the easiest one. They're in compliance hardcore, right? And then they say things like, why aren't you doing your job? You're supposed to teach it to me, right? You get this pushback because you're like, no, you're supposed to teach and learn. All right, so what happens is it's in the classroom. So day 1, maybe I do a pre-assessment. We fill it out together, right? Then I do regular teaching. We're doing things, we're doing projects, inquiry events, yay. And then like 4 days later or 5 days later, back to the self-navigation tool where I go, okay, let's check in. Maybe I did some exit tickets. Maybe we did a quick little quiz or something, or we tried an on-demand essay, or we did something where we have data now to fill it in, right? And they can spend some time working on it. Then we go back into instruction and we're doing all our things. About 5 days later, self-navigation day, right? Or maybe I pull it out at the end of where you do the I do, we do, you do, right? Maybe during that you do, it's time to work on that self-navigation tool, and we're working it through, especially if kids are already good at whatever I was working on that day. I might go, hey, to your self-navigation tool. So it's this thing I have in my classroom to always have children on task working on what they should be working on. Now, back at the farm, if we've been doing this, now let's pretend we've been doing this for 3-4 years. At around 3-4 years, you've closed the gap. What do I mean by that? I mean, after about 3 years, even middle schoolers and high schoolers who were resistant before, they've got it. They're like, okay, I get what you're doing, right? And the community and our culture in the area is on this. You can actually tie homework to the self-navigation tool. You can make a lot of it be done outside of your class time, right? So class time is more about instruction and in events, right? Demonstrations, things like that. But the self-navigation tool is something that the children are working on. They can work on it with any adult, because it doesn't even have to be an adult who knows your content area, because all the learning strategies teach parents what it should look like and sound like. Any teacher, any professional educator would be able to help the kids. So that starts to happen 3 and 4 years into it, which is very exciting. Parents tell us they love it because they can actually help their kids with the things that we're asking them to do. And it opens up our roles, right? So I can help a student in your class. If I'm with that student in a different atmosphere, but they know everything I'm working on, they could actually work on a learning plan from any class. So this starts to suddenly take our minutes, right? In time where children can be on task working on their learning plans, and it doesn't have to be in my classroom. But just a reminder, the first 2 years, yeah, we're totally, and I need to build those scaffolds into my room to make sure it has accessibility. Great question.
On the I like the idea of a navigation day, self-navigation day, where then, you know, given time to work on that. So looking back at your younger years maths example,
Yep.
say if there is a child in the class who can do all those I cans. So yes, as a teacher, you would give them some extension, but wouldn't you want all the children to have an opportunity for extension?
Oh yeah, I actually dislike the word enrichment because it implies that some of your curriculum is not enriched, right? Yeah. What is that, right? Bland, this is my bland curriculum. So the idea becomes you really want to even have some options in here. So I've had classes where the teachers will mark certain strategies and say, this is good for practicing. This is good if you need to learn it. And this is good if you already know it, but you really want to strengthen your skills, right? And so you can cue for children even which strategies are better. Not saying they can't pick that strategy if they want to, but you're giving them information about how to make good choices. That can happen. So notice on the younger one, it's play the math games. So I could play that game both if I need to practice it or if I'm just strengthening my skills on it. And what's nice about these is I can solve addition problems. We want the kids building a sense of expertise. There's no, oh, I've mastered it, I'm now going to stop solving addition problems, right? So what I like about these learning strategies with the young ones is the teacher was prepared to have this going on in their room and the kids know what they're doing. But if I were to walk in the room as an outsider and I were to sit next to a child, let's pretend their name is Colin, and I would say to Colin, what are you learning? Colin can say, I'm working on, I can solve addition problems. Oh, so why are you learning that? Oh, because I need to be able to do these quickly to solve problems. How are you learning it? I'm playing this game with my friend so that I keep my pace up, right? And because it's fun also, and because I can't predict which kinds of math problem I'm gonna have to do, right? So look at what this child just was able to say to me. They were telling me what they had to learn, why they had to learn it, and how they were learning it. That's level 3 engagement. Then watch this one. If I say, how will you know if you've learned it? Oh, well, I'll be able to play this game quickly and not have to check my answer card, my support card, my scaffold card every time. That's self-assessment. And last but not least, because I'm an evaluator, I'm coming in and I'm going for the gold in engagement. And I go, how do you feel about this, Colin? And Colin will go, I love it or I hate it. But either way, I win, right? Because the child touched emotion, I've crossed all 5 hemispheres, you're maximum retention doing it that way. And that's a child who was both good at that learning target. Now what? Okay, now we're going into the deep end of the pool. Allison did this to us. Is everyone ready? Look at your colleague, tell them it's okay. Here we go. Allison, I dedicate this to you, my friend, because it was a great question. And I want to model one more layer to take. I want you to imagine that out of a class of 10, 7 of the children have learning targets they need to work on, but 3 of them don't. Okay? 3 of them, they knew all the learning targets right in the beginning. You with me on that? Have you had those kids? You know those kids. They walk in, they know them all. And you're sitting there going, I don't want them to just have to be, practicing the learning target stronger, because these kids are going to go home and tell their parents they're bored. Everyone with me on that? And then you get that letter. You know that letter you get, like, you're not doing enough for my kid, right? Okay, so let's go in. When we keep track of the learning strategies the kids are using and picking, we find that they do tend to pick the same learning strategy over and over and over again. I'm going to show you a list of all the learning strategies. There's 16 of them. There are 16 ways the human brain learns. Everyone with me on that? I'm not convinced every single kid knows all 16 ways. So if a kid knows all my learning targets, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, little Colin, I know you know the learning targets, but what I would like you to do is I want you to practice the learning targets that you already know in learning strategies you don't know. Because I want you to learn more than one way to learn something, or even more than 5 ways to learn something. I want you to learn 16 ways to learn something, and there's no better way to practice a learning strategy than when you already know the learning target, right? Because then I'm not scared of messing up the learning target. I have the confidence now that I can self-assess the learning target, but man, this learning strategy is really hard. But this world will not hand you things in your preferred way to learn it. That's not how the world works. So you and I have to teach these kids not only all these learning targets, but we have to teach them 16 different ways to learn. That's how they become expert learners. So that's the first thing, Allison, I would say. And mom and dad are going to love that, right? And you hand them all 16. And then, of course, they're going to sit there and drill their kids on those 16 every weekend until they know them all. All right, there we go.